point-blank shot. Anyone else would get dropped on the spot, but he dodges it in the blink of an eye, catching a blade with his bare hands right after, smashes a massive crater into the ground with just one punch. Strangely enough, everyone still thinks he's just some useless beggar. He gets clowned by the richest families without even fighting back, and that's where it gets crazy. They have zero clue they're mocking the feared Assassin King, swallowing his pride just to keep his dad's final promise. Now his patience is gone, and that forbidden name is about to ring out again. With no holding back, the beatdown these arrogant scumbags are gonna get is legendary. Drop a sub and leave a like right now, because this recap is pure fire. Here we arrive at the Sahel region, a conflict-heavy spot known as the Forbidden Zone. Emerging on the horizon is this high-tech complex built right into the rocky cliff. At the entrance, the guard holds his ground, keeping a firm grip on his rifle, but the watchman doesn't even notice the approach, getting caught off guard by a precise strike. Sahel unloads some rapid strikes to neutralize everyone. The vibe gets heavy though when his partner questions the lack of security around here. Warning him about the danger, Sahel pulls out his tactical knife while tracking a nearby target. Right in front of the doors, the duo now faces the main entrance, ready to push forward. Opening the door, they confirm the objective is right there. With extreme caution, Sahel crouches to inspect the device while his partner keeps watch. Both of them look at what's inside with dead serious expressions. And that's where it gets crazy. Sahel's eyes go wide, realizing he just walked right into a trap. Now the timer hits 20 seconds, a warning siren echoing non-stop. Panicking, he screams for his partner to run as they both bolt. While one holds the door open, the other sprints down the hallway like his life depends on it. In pure desperation, his partner begs the boss to escape before it blows. Yelling at the top of his lungs, Sahel drops a frantic warning about the Red Wolf. He then pushes through with all his might, his face full of tension. Suddenly, the timer locks at absolute zero and the doors slam shut, sealing them in. A massive roar follows as the whole place goes up in a giant blast. Soon after, news drops online that Sahel has been marked as eliminated, but he barely makes it out, revealing his true identity as the feared king of assassins. Recovering from the damage, the master hits a transformation stage after that whole mess. Sahel is now just looking for a normal life, keeping his past completely hidden. Taking a step toward the campus, he tries to blend in with the massive crowd of students. Under the bright sun, he walks with a calm smile, ready for a fresh start. He then flags down a driver, asking for a ride to number 33. During the ride, the driver starts chatting about where he's from and why he's visiting. Dropping a hint, the driver warns him that getting close to the Feng family isn't easy. Finally, the car pulls up right in front of this fancy mansion. The driver actually suggests he just wait there to pay for the round trip all at once. Stepping out of the ride, our guy throws his backpack on and scopes out the place. Yet the driver doesn't hold back, throwing a nasty insult about how he looks. Facing the entrance, Sahel takes a deep breath, dead set on fulfilling his father's final wish. Two guards block his path right then, demanding an invitation before they let him through. Completely confused, he shoots the guys a cold glare and asks what's up. Those dudes aren't buying his story, so the kid keeps it real. He's here for Feng Wanming. With a shaky hand, he pulls out an old photo showing his dad in uniform. Checking out the picture, the guard immediately notices an undeniable resemblance. He holds on to the box, betting everything on his dad's medal to prove who he is. Blown away by the proof, the guards tell him to hold on while they notify the boss. Meanwhile, a massive party vibe takes over the place with guests celebrating the union. The young girl questions her grandpa, promising that this marriage won't pull her away from the family. Getting up with a glass in hand, the host steps forward to welcome all the guests. With a huge smile and a drink raised, the host proudly announces the engagement of Feng and Jiaming. Toasting with pure class, the couple highlights the strategic partnership between both families. Everyone at the banquet is cheering, talking about how this family alliance rules everything. Out of nowhere, a subordinate crashes the moment, bringing some urgent news to the boss. He shows off a tiny box with a medal, giving a heads up about a visitor outside. Clearly in shock, the guy can barely believe the Zhang clan actually showed up. Just hearing that news makes his face drop, leaving his daughter super confused. And no one saw that coming. The woman reveals her dad had promised her sister to this Zhang Hao guy. Worried sick, the girl begs her grandpa to protect her sister, but he tells her to chill and sends her off. Taking charge, the man orders everyone to entertain the guests while he checks who just arrived. Face to face with the guy at the door, he can barely hide how stunned he is. Backed by this intense glow, the dude flashes a massive smile, swearing he spent years looking for him. Sehao rolls up completely out of breath, apologizing like crazy for being late and causing worry. Wrapping him in a tight hug, the veteran is hyped to see that kid all grown up. Still gripping the young man's shoulder, he asks about his dad. With a heavy heart, the guy reveals his dad passed away 10 years ago from an old injury. Pure shock instantly takes over the kid's face as he yells out aloud, "What?" Feeling super guilty, Halsey vents that the whole thing was actually his fault. He throws on a soft smile to calm him down, saying the past is in the past. Now he explains he just came to fulfill his dad's final wish and get some answers. The older man keeps a dead serious look though, pointing out that things are pretty complicated right now. Right then, this elegant woman walks down the stairs and questions why those two are even there. The rest of the group comes downstairs, announcing they already set up their exit. Pointing at the newcomers, the host introduces his aunt and young Yi-yun. Sehale now looks right at the girl, mentioning how much she's changed over the years that he barely recognized her. Smiling calmly, she admits she doesn't remember their past together either. Annoyed by this whole reunion, the girl calls him out for vanishing for 10 years. Jumping into the argument, the young guy points a finger and calls him a gold digger, rubbing it in that she's already engaged to the Wan family. Fed up with the disrespect, the older man loses it and screams at the kid to shut his mouth. Sehale and his companion immediately demand some answers from Feng about that final wish. Staring right at him, the man calls out to the guy with a hesitant tone. And this is where it gets good. He reveals that he and his dad set up an old engagement agreement. Shocked by the drop, the girl covers her mouth, completely floored by the sudden news. Backing up the story, the man insists that this old agreement is an unbreakable promise. He lays it all out, dropping the bomb that his late father's dying wish was exactly this marriage, crushing any hope of backing out. He states that the martial world doesn't allow people to go back on their word. But Sahel isn't shaking, looking straight at the uncle to keep it real. He wants to cancel the wedding. Disgusted by the nerve, the man points his finger and accuses the guy of being a leech. The dude gets absolutely furious, screaming that the kid is just a worthless beggar. Furious at the disrespect, he steps up for a clash and boldly challenges her dad. Freaking out over the decision, the girl confronts her dad about wrecking the Wan family engagement. Blind with rage over her pushing back, he points his finger and declares a 20-year engagement cannot be changed. Crying her eyes out, she snaps and tells him he doesn't even deserve to be called a father. She ignores the shouting and makes a frantic run to escape the place for good. The veteran then places a hand on Sahale's shoulder, insisting he takes a break. Meanwhile, night falls over the mansion, bringing a starry sky and bright moonlight. Surrounded by pure silence, he locks in on his breathing technique, feeling the power flow. A man then asks Wan Ming with a cold smile, is he really dead set on marrying Yi-yun to Zhang Hao? Now he owns up to the painful truth, admitting Hazi's dad passed away because of him. Carrying that heavy guilt, he asks his dad if he'd even be human if he broke off the engagement. The young guy steps up to confront the patriarch about how much this choice is hurting the girl. Pushed too far, the patriarch cuts him off, reminding him all of Wuling knows about the deal, and the Wan family's rage would be fatal. Fully determined, he promises to figure out a way to fix this massive mess. He finally gives in to the request, but warns that this yes comes with 3 conditions. Dropping the ultimatum, the veteran asks if the kid would be down to be a live-in son-in-law. The patriarch just snubs the boy though, claiming the Feng family is way too important to accept a nameless broke guy. After hearing all that trash talk, the veteran decides to end the chat and goes to find Haozi. Sitting in a lotus pose, Sahale focuses all his vital energy into cultivation. He really doesn't want to be a burden to Uncle Feng anymore after thinking about everything that went down. Out of nowhere, the vibe breaks when a voice calls out to the guy, asking if he's asleep. Wasting no time, Sahale drops his robe, showing off a sick dragon tattoo right on his chest. Face to face with the veteran now, he promises not to cause trouble and accepts whatever conditions for the wedding. The older guy is just stunned, asking if he's seriously okay with becoming a son-in-law for the Feng family. Stepping closer with a tone full of regret, the veteran admits he messed up with him. The young guy shuts that talk down, telling him not to worry and gets a positive nod back. Accepting the deal for now, he just watches the old man head out. Now the spotlight shifts to the massive Wan family mansion, lit up under the moonlight. Blown away by the update, the guy screams in anger when he finds out the engagement is off. He slams his fist on the table, stressed out, asking if the news about a wedding in 3 days is actually real. Keeping his cool, the kid claims he can't break a promise, driving the other guy completely mad. Defeated, the businessman sighs and guarantees his group will drop the Anshin project. Pointing his finger in pure rage, the man rants that he's not going to let anyone play him for a fool. Right after the argument, he orders the visitor to get out of there instantly. Switching scenes, the camera focuses on a modern cybercafe glowing with neon lights. Inside this high-tech spot, a customer raises his hand, demanding to swap computers. Fingers start typing rapid fire on the keyboard, hacking into a dark network showing a red butterfly icon. He now stares at a monitor, revealing a 200 million bounty on a master. Then the screen shows Jia Yunbai exposing some terrible crime committed in Huaxia, frozen right right in front of the screen, the guy lets out a loud, "What?" in pure shock. And just like that, everything changed. The old king went down and Sirius, the number 4, takes over. Things heat up instantly as the two of them rush forward in a crazy sprint. Charging in with everything he's got, the fighter blocks the impact using a massive shield. The clash is completely unavoidable, setting off an explosion of light that wipes out the whole background. Questioning what he just saw, he finds it sketchy since the lone wolf was supposed to take the spot. He stares dead at the monitor, whispering Sirius's name while looking visibly tense. With eyes full of pure hatred, he swears to find out who betrayed the group and avenge the wolf. Meanwhile, the calm night settles over the city, under the glow of a full moon. Determined to dig deeper, Yahello plans to spend a few days around there to map everything out. The vibe instantly shifts when a van comes screeching to a halt right in front of him. Two shady dudes hop out of the ride and step up to intimidate Yahello. Wasting zero time, the duo pulls out sharp knives and surrounds him. The big guy holds a blade to the kid's neck, warning he won't hesitate, but our boy stays chilled to hide his real identity. With his hands up, he tries to cool things down as the knife cuts through the silence. Inside the van, he spots a girl tied up and gagged, crying her eyes out. Faking surrender, he offers the little cash in his pocket, but the brute yells they didn't grab him for pocket change. Yahello just gives the kidnapper a cold smile and asks what the real motive is. One of the goons cuts the chatter, promising a fat payout for the job just to shut him up. Leaving that spot, he crosses the empty avenue under the moonlight, feeling the quiet vibe. Soon after, he arrives at a high-end mansion with a 6 sports car parked out front. Walking into the living room, the man heads toward the trio as his footsteps echo loud. The patriarch takes the lead right there, asking if he figured out who took Yoya yet. Looking completely stressed, the subordinate admits he couldn't find a single clue, not even in the underworld. Stuck in a dead end, the veteran decides to make a move. He orders the ransom prepped and keeps the search going. One of his sons speaks up, explaining their projects are tapped out and they don't have 500 million. The guy then raises a finger, demanding they negotiate the ransom down to 100 million. Disgusted by his brother's cold attitude, he unloads a whole speech about his lack of empathy. Even with the heavy tension, he swears he'd act the exact same way if it was Fanger. Slamming his hand on the table, he shuts down the argument once and for all. He puts a hard stop to the yelling before things spiral totally out of control. Now he drops the ultimatum. They need to get 500 million because lives matter way more. A van suddenly pulls into a pitch-black warehouse. Sliding the door open, the thugs force the hostages out at gunpoint. Completely surrounded, the young girl cries while this intimidating dude watches her closely. Showing zero mercy, the criminal gags the girl so she can't scream for help. Even with the gag on, she lets out a desperate muffled scream to catch anyone's attention. Triggered by the noise, the kidnapper viciously threatens her just to shut her up. In full panic mode, the girl threatens to hurt herself, but the dude just mocks her. The boss then tells his partner to stop talking and focus on filming the video. One of the goons sets up the camera while his buddy asks what they're supposed to record. Horrified by this twisted plan, the hostage confronts the big guy about the crime. Tweaking the lens, the henchman drops a sarcastic comment about how smart she is. Furious over all this evil, she stares him down and screams that they're nothing but monsters. The sidekick demands his payout right now, but the leader just laughs, promising a brutal fate. Laughing out loud, the whole crew gets a kick out of her misery right in the middle of the warehouse. She desperately begs him to plead for his life before it's too late. A guy armed with a knife suddenly corners Yahello, demanding all his cash. Yahello just looks at them, asking why they keep insisting on putting themselves in danger. Cracking up uncontrollably, the attacker mocks the kid's nerve for standing his ground with zero fear. The guy mockingly agrees, while the big brute readies his final strike. And this is where it gets crazy. He stays totally calm, dropping a bold warning that the tables have turned. Acting all arrogant, the villain laughs at the kid's innocence, thinking he's already won this. Out of patience, the giant pulls out a massive machete and drops into a deadly stance. He then dashes across the warehouse, closing the gap on the duo in a flash. Right at the top of his target, the attacker jumps and raises his blade for a heavy downward slash. Pure shock paints the girl's face as she watches everything completely paralyze. Delivering a brutal counterattack, he lands a flawless strike right on the enemy's chin. The brute yells in panic, realizing his partner just got absolutely bodied. Swearing revenge for losing his brother, the henchman aims his weapon straight at him. He plants his feet firmly on the ground, launching his body into the next move. With blinding speed, he throws a chunk of wood straight at his opponent. Taking advantage of the opening, Yahello unloads a heavy kick that sends the target flying. A clean shot hits his hand right after, knocking his weapon way out of reach. Wasting no time, the boss of the goons orders his boys to launch their final attack. Without any hesitation, the trigger gets pulled and a bullet slices through the air. While he's mid-air, the three thugs don't waste a second and land their shot. Keeping the momentum going, Yahello dashes like a blur and takes down the rest of the enemies. Our guy just appears like a deadly shadow right behind the armed thugs. The goon completely freezes, terrified as he asks who he even is. Flashing a dark look in his eyes, he chills the dude to the bone, declaring his name is forbidden. He then drives his fist into the ground, crushing his opponent with raw strength. Cash suddenly enters the picture to fix the whole mess with a straight-up bribe. Mocking the whole setup, he takes the payout but regrets forgetting his final words. Now he finds a woman tied up in the warehouse, begging him to cut her loose. Throwing the blade with pinpoint accuracy, he disarms the enemy in one smooth move. In a flash, the blade slices through the ropes, freeing the girl while she stares in fear. Even as she thanks him, he turns his back and demands absolute secrecy about him being there. Outside, the cops surround the place while the girl gets some proper medical care. Right then, two guys show up under the moonlight calling for Yo-Yao, leaving her completely surprised. Suddenly, she feels herself into an older man's arms, sobbing as she calls him Grandpa. Now an officer steps up and questions the girl about who just saved her. Giving the details, she claims the suspect wore a mask, was short, and had a stocky build. Up in the sky, the crescent moon shines bright through the silent treetops. Confronting her with a serious tone, the grandpa calls her out for clearly lying. Even under pressure, she keeps the secret safe, refusing to betray the one who protected her. But the patriarch insists that while gratitude is noble, the Jin family is way too powerful to trust a stranger. Shutting down the argument, the old man tells his granddaughter to rest, and she just complies. Alone in her room, she stares at the door, wondering if that guy had some hidden agenda. A suited guy then approaches, addressing the patriarch with complete respect. With a stern look, the old man orders him to take charge of Yaoya's protection. Following up, the leader demands they find out who took care of those criminals today. Yahello is now dashing through the streets, pulling off a crack speed technique. Reaching his limit, he hits the brakes hard right in front of the Feng Mansion entrance. Standing at the gate, the kid gives a dead serious look to the group waiting for him. Annoyed, the grandson points his finger, asking the patriarch if this guy even respects the family. Refusing to stay quiet, the young man fires back, challenging the other about the house rules. Furious at the disrespect, the guy points his finger and demands respect for his brother-in-law. The arrogant dude then talks down to the kid, calling him just a broke loser with no future. Worried sick, one of the guys reveals that Jiming's godfather runs the whole underworld. Keeping a straight face, he highlights that this rumor is pretty much a confirmed fact. Facing this heavy vibe, a frustrated sigh drops while the other snaps back angrily. Trying to cool things down, the uncle rests a hand on the youth's shoulder and asks him to chill. Yahello keeps his gaze steady, thanking him for the kindness but totally brushing off this master lay. Wearing a harsh expression, the elder warns about the danger and scolds the kid. Turning his back on both of them, Yahello cuts the chat and heads out of the room. A man then tries to calm his father down, asking him not to take the youth's boldness too personally. Time passes, bringing the sunrise over the neighborhood and kicking off a brand new day. Standing right in front of an iron gate, he confirms this is the Red Wolf's house. Curious, Yahello rubs his chin, finding the dead silence of the place super weird. Soon enough, a lady sitting nearby speaks up, mentioning the family moved away a year ago. Wasting no time, he asks where they went, but she says only one neighbor knows. Despite being helpful, she sighs and notes the girl only shows up there every 10 days. Pulling some cash from his pocket, he hands it to the woman and asks her to give him a call. Now the kid gets lost in thought, wondering why the family packed up so suddenly. Walking down a busy street, Yahello thinks back on that past attack. Right in front of him stands this modern luxury building under a clear blue sky. Inside, the mood completely shifts with two people sleeping huddled up in bed. Annoyed by the interruption, the guy wakes up and curses over his lost sleep. Opening the door, he comes face to face with a bald dude staring at him and asks who it is. Already wearing a serious look, he demands to know the results of the investigation. The guy then explains that the kid ran away after losing both his parents. Consumed by uncontrollable rage, he starts venting insults. Offering a grim solution, the henchman suggests taking the kid out, but the boss prefers to stay chill. Later on, things get heavy while Yian sips tea, watching his every move. Breaking the silence, the girl asks if there's a special reason for this meetup. Angry, the guy questions if she's really gonna obey her dad and marry some stranger. Revealing an old debt of gratitude, he tries to convince his girl to run away with him. With teary eyes, she shoots down the idea, claiming that honoring his word is vital. Furious, he screams that getting rejected by the Feng family will make him a joke in Wuling. Heartbroken, she explains herself, keeping her tone steady even though she's visibly shaken. Trying to hold back her tears, she apologizes for how her dad acted. The guy then pulls out his phone and starts dialing a number, looking dead set. Cold and direct, he cuts ties completely, telling her to finally face reality. Midway through an intense push-up, he gets the order to execute Plan B right now. Rushing down the stairs, the young guy replies that he's already heading out. He soon runs into the driver, who lets him know he needs to handle some business. Sahel then asks where the cab is headed, and he replies it's going down Priang Road. While the car drives on, the driver apologizes for picking up other passengers. Under the streetlights, the car cuts through the empty road in the dead of night. As night falls, the taxi keeps moving down a deserted highway under the moonlight. Curious about the route, the kid looks over and asks where the passenger is trying to go. Flashing a smile, the driver lies, saying he's just taking the passenger home. But the chat shifts tones completely when the guy states his boss wants to see him now. Soon enough, the taxi parks right outside this luxury mansion, glowing in the moonlight. Opening the door, the driver warns him that he has to walk the rest of the way alone. Now inside the hallway, the guard guarantees nothing bad will happen if he just cooperates. Ready to face the music, the guard opens the door and Sahel demands to know who wants to meet him. Sitting on a fancy couch, a classy guy sips some wine while his henchman watches. Staring down the stranger with cold eyes, the kid asks who he thinks he is. Smirking, he reveals he knows everything about the Feng family's son-in-law. Unfazed by the drop, he holds his ground and demands to know the reason for this kidnapping. Full of arrogance, the playboy unloads insults, treating the kid like pure trash. So ignoring the trash talk, he glares at the guy and demands the real reason for this meetup. Now without any hesitation, the dude drops a cruel demand. He wants a finger. Things get super heavy right there, with the henchman stepping up to intimidate him. Keeping a bold stance, he looks right at the enemy and sarcastically asks, "What if I refuse?" Wasting zero time, the snob lets out a mocking laugh and orders the goon to attack. Annoyed by the sheer nerve, the big guy just crosses his arms and lets out a heavy sigh. Shoving hard, the brute forces a young guy right into the room. Cutting through the tension, he recognizes the driver and demands a proper explanation. Jumping into action, the brute fires off a clean punch straight at his target. Moving like a blur, the strike cuts through the air, but the target dodges by an inch. Seeing the power behind that attack, his eyes go wide, completely blown away by the force. But he doesn't stop there, using that momentum to land a precise hit. Looking down on the fallen opponent, he mocks the weakness of Uncle Fang's backup. Flashing an intimidating look, the henchmen deliver the message and demand he follows them. Meanwhile, the crew outside uses the moment to dig up a hole. Seeing the kid, the man drops a pretty sinister taunt right there. Now the bald brute stares Sahel down, demanding he jumps in already. Hiding his face with a hand, he regrets being forced into making such a drastic move. Fueled by pure rage, the dude charges at him with his shovel raised high. Sahel dodges smoothly, landing a clean cut right on his rival. Bleeding from the hit, he stays unfazed and holds his ground against his defeated foe. Feeling the impact of that counter, he groans in pain and instantly loses his breath. And seeing his brother down, he screams in anger, demanding answers for the strike. Roaring with pure hatred, the guy charges forward, but the kid doesn't even budge. Spinning his body with crazy agility, he uses the tool's weight to unleash a massive blow. Now the enemy hits the dirt, while he just watches from above like a total boss. Realizing their target fought back, the two criminals rush in, thirsty for blood. With a furious shout, the thug leaks at the kid, spitting out threats midair. Using cracked reflexes, he catches the blade barehanded right in the air, stopping the hit. Right after, he plants his palm dead onto the guy's face, completely paralyzing him. And this is where it gets crazy. He unloads a devastating strike, cracking the ground into a crater. Emerging right after, Sahel shoots an arrogant look, flexing a confident smile. Thanks to the impact, the attackers get launched straight into a massive pit. Terrified, the henchman drops to his knees in panic, begging for his life right now. Shrugging with an ice-cold glare, he says he doesn't need to finish him, ordering the goon to do it himself. Shaking with fear, the big guy just nods at the command and obeys instantly. With zero chance to block, the guy takes a brutal rock straight to the forehead. Calmly walking away from the scene, he strolls off while leaving his defeated enemies behind. Sitting quietly in front of the house, Sahel just scopes out the scene in total silence. The kid then asks for a ride to Puyong Road, and he accepts it on the spot. Confused about the missing men, the guy questions his companion, who replies bluntly. Dismissing his ride, he tells them to head out without him and turns his back. Just ahead, an older lady sitting by a kiosk notices him and asks a question. The lady then scolds him for taking so long, saying the girl came back a while ago. Standing right in front of the wooden door, he raises his fist and knocks twice, nice and firm. Once the door opens, the guy spots a young woman and asks if she's Sun Shin. shooting him a look of pure disdain. She denies everything, claiming she doesn't even know that name. Keeping his cool, the guy introduces himself, claiming to be her brother Jang Hao's best friend. At that exact moment, he holds out his hand to reveal a jade pendant, confident he's found the proof he needs. Seeing the item, she panics, grabs his arm, and demands to know where her brother is. Staying quiet, he locks eyes on her, processing that reaction. Playing it cool, he explains her brother is actually working overseas right now. Softening her tone, she invites the guy inside and apologizes for being rude. As soon as they step in, he drops the direct question, wanting to know where Sun Lei is. Hesitating, the girl stutters his name, clearly shaken by how direct the question was. An urgent warning suddenly breaks the vibe, with someone rushing in to drop an alert. Cutting right through the tension, a guy bursts in, screaming in panic that Lei is in trouble. Freaked out, she demands to know what happened, while he can barely explain a thing. The kid then explains that some rival showed up demanding 100 grand in damages. Hearing this crazy news, her eyes go wide, completely shocked by the situation. Then the scene opens up to a city street at night, glowing under the streetlights. Inside the car now, he reveals their mom got sick, and Xiao Lei fell into a trap, owing everything to the loan shark He Bao. Hitting the brakes hard, the car screeches to a stop right in front of the bar. Meanwhile, the guy asks Dongxi to stay outside, but his buddy insists on coming. Walking in, he bumps into a blonde girl, leaving just as the crew arrives. Inside, the whole vibe is a wild party with cash flying everywhere and drinks pouring. And suddenly, the focus shifts to a lit-up fighting ring where he just knocks out his opponent. Landing a clean hit, the fighter buries a nasty kick into his opponent's stomach, freezing him up. Hyped about the win, the victor lets out a mocking laugh while celebrating the knockout. Down below, the big bosses enjoy some fancy drinks, bragging about their new Japanese fighter. A henchman now tells Boss Bao that Sun Lei's sister is here, and he gives the green light. Bringing the girl inside, the goons place her right in front of the big boss. Shaking, she stammers out of Boss Bao, while her brother keeps her steady by his side. Pulling out a cigar, the criminal loses his patience and threatens to end the kid. Stepping in to protect the girl, the guy asks him to chill and tries talking things out. Angry at the kid's nerve, one of the goons steps up, growling threats. Challenging the criminal's authority, he offers to pay 50 grand to settle the whole thing. The tattooed brute just ignores the offer and sets one condition: beg for forgiveness. Laughing out loud, the boss admits the kid has guts and brags about his 20 years running the underworld. Standing his ground, Sahale stares the criminal down and asks if winning clears the debt. Now the villain accepts the challenge, promising that if he loses, he'll drop to his knees and call him Grandpa. Stepping into the ring, he takes center stage while his rivals watch his every move. Right behind, Sahale walks with total confidence while the worried girl follows him closely. Inside the ring, the opponent in the gi strikes a pose and unleashes a classic war cry. Raising his arms, the ref gives the signal everyone was waiting for. The fight is on. Moving crazy fast, he charges him with everything, aiming a straight punch right at the face. Without even blinking, the youth holds his guard steady as the strike slices through the air. Feeling the heavy impact, the girl covers her face in pure panic. Catching some serious air, he launches a precision strike right at his opponent. Flashing a smirk, he watches his opponent step back, clearly shaken. Totally locked in, the fighter lets out a deafening roar as he pushes his attack. Diving from above, the opponent clenches his fist and goes all in on a desperate strike. Blocking it effortlessly, he catches the opponent's fist with one hand, stopping the hit dead. With a brutal follow-up, he lands a solid punch to the gut, making his rival spit blood. Right after, he connects a heavy uppercut to the chin, launching the enemy backward. Giving zero breathing room, Sahel fires off a high kick that the opponent reflexively tries to block. Taking full advantage of the opening, he unleashes a combo of absolute brutal kicks. Thanks to the sheer force, he blasts his opponent against the ring ropes with zero mercy. Flipping the script, he lands a devastating kick straight to the guy's face. Using that momentum, he sends his opponent flying through the air like a rag doll. Hitting the mat hard, the opponent goes down while the big guy just stares in disbelief. Looking down at him, the kid mocks his opponent, calling him mid-trash with no internal energy. Completely shell-shocked, the boss drops his cigar as his face shows absolute pure terror. Watching this crazy flex of power, the girl is left completely speechless. Realizing the insane level of the fight, the guy watches and drops a wow, totally impressed. Stepping up, the tattooed brute glares at the threat with a cold, challenging look. But the kid isn't having it and demands his rival pay up, dropping to his knees to call him Grandpa. Pulling out a weapon, he aims right at an apple, making the vibe incredibly tense. Flashing a cynical smile, he holds the apple and claims he really didn't want to do this. Furious, the guy ignores the talking and pulls the trigger on his opponent without a second thought. But thanks to cracked reflexes, he dodges the bullet in the blink of an eye. Locking on with glowing red eyes and pure killing intent, he stares down his target. Closing the gap instantly, he grabs the brute by the back of the neck with all his strength. Apple pieces then fly everywhere from the flawless impact of that projectile. Taking a solid hit, the shot pieces its target, making the fighter let out a pained scream. Completely losing his balance, the villain falls straight backward onto the floor. Wide-eyed and in absolute shock, the goons realize their boss just got dropped. Yahello just watches as the remaining henchmen throw themselves onto the ground. Terrified, they beg for their lives and try throwing out excuses to dodge the punishment. A subordinate then steps up, asking permission to offer a quick suggestion. Pulling a snake move, the goon tries to bargain for his own boss's freedom. Confronting the stranger, the kid questions his loyalty but gets an interesting deal instead. Accepting the deal, our hero agrees to the terms laid out by the man. Leaving the room, the guy watches the duo walk away, seriously impressed by the kid. Skipping to the next day, the scene shifts over to the massive Feng family mansion. Gathered around the table, the Feng family members sit down for a dead silent dinner. Complaining angrily mid-meal, the young girl blames their guest for her sister going missing. Slashing through the tension, the man drops a blunt reply and tells her to shut her mouth. Following that argument, Yahello gets up from the table using a walk as an excuse to dip. Walking away, the youth is called over by his uncle, who asks him to hold on a sec. The uncle explains the girl urgently needs some papers and asks the kid to deliver them. As he leaves, the girl watches with pure disgust, swearing she's gonna kick him out soon. Touching down at the Ymir and Company, Yahello arrives to drop off the requested documents. Walking into the fancy lobby, he hits up the front desk to handle the delivery for CEO Feng. Taking charge instantly, the secretary points out the right way for him to head up. Politely thanking her for the help, they say goodbye right at the elevator doors. Inside the elevator, some mystery guy in shades is just staring him down. Suddenly, the stranger's intense gaze locks in, dropping nothing but a brief Recognizing the stranger, he thinks to himself, did this assassin come here hunting someone? Right after, a loud metallic sound echoes through the lobby as the doors slide shut. Stepping into the office, he spots a girl sitting at the desk, totally zoned into her screen. Glaring at him with a cold face, she demands he asks for permission before barging in. Wasting no time, he hands over the folder with the paperwork and immediately gets dismissed. Flashing a cynical smirk, the kid questions if this is how she always treats her guests. Putting on a serious face, he warns her that Wolling City isn't exactly safe for going out. Annoyed, the girl claps back at his comment, calling the dude petty and straight up rude. Out of nowhere, a red sports car pulls up on the road, hitting the brakes hard right ahead. The vehicle then comes to a complete stop right next to Sahil. Then the guy inside calls the kid by his name, inviting him for a ride to his car club. Shutting him down instantly, he says he doesn't want to race, but the guy insists on splitting a 1 million prize, claiming he desperately needs the cash. Doubting the offer, he asks if the guy would actually hand over half the money. Sealing the deal, Yahello finally hops into the car. Roaring to life, the engine revs loud as the car speeds off, kicking up dust on the asphalt. Climbing up the mountain, the sports car drifts through dangerous curves on the empty road. Arriving at the spot, one of the guys finds his presence weird and asks who the newbie is. The local dudes instantly start making fun of the youth, calling him a pretty boy. Confronting him, the veteran asks what he just said, but the kid fires back with zero fear. Losing patience for the nonsense, the kid cuts the small talk and tells them to start already. Pointing up their target, one of the guys warns that he's the illegitimate son of Master Lei. Standing mid-track, a girl raises the flags high to signal the start of the race. From inside his ride, the opponent glares at the newbie, dripping with pure arrogance. While driving, the driver asks who the other racer is, eventually getting the confirmation. Jin Shixuan lets out a mocking sigh, scowling with absolute pride. Raising her hand with total confidence, she kicks off the countdown. 3. Keeping the rhythm going, she holds up 2 fingers and screams out the number 2. Finally dropping her arm, she yells 1, triggering the engines to roar to life. Wasting no time, the cars shoot off the line and tear down the open track. From the passenger seat, he warns not to chase the rival, since he maxed out the torque and it's just way too dangerous. Staying completely cool, the rival lets out an ironic laugh while staring right at him. Frustrated by the slow pace ahead, the driver wonders if it's a trap, while the kid warns they're losing the race. Panicking, the passenger warns that this maniac is going to end them both, but the driver tells him to shut up and take the wheel if he's so much better. Yahello then grabs him by the neck and orders him into the back seat, fully taking over the wheel. Screaming in panic, the passenger completely loses it over the kid's reckless driving. Pushing the pedal to the metal on a deadly curve, the red sports car slices through the wind at crazy speeds. Terrified, he grabs the roof of the car and screams a warning about the cliff right ahead. Tires screeching loud, the sports car drifts insanely close to the edge of the cliff. Blown away by that insane maneuver, the passenger can't even believe the driver pulled it off. Surprised, the passenger admits he underestimated the kid, hyping up his crazy driving skills. Sahel then spots the red car right ahead and definitely doesn't hide his disbelief. Flashing a confident smile, the driver announces he's going to make their opponent flip on the curve. Outraged, the passenger loses his mind watching the driver casually sip some water, but he stays completely chill, dropping a warning that the real show is just getting started. Drifting smoothly down the track, the red sports car pulls up right next to the yellow one. Glancing out the window, he checks the tight gap and completely writes off any chance of passing. Closing the angle with deadly precision, he steers the car hard, shoving his rival away. Facing that unexpected move, his eyes go wide, completely stunned by the audacity. Now both sports cars stick side by side, tearing up the asphalt in a totally breathtaking street race. Glaring at his opponent in pure rage, he screams that the other guy is a maniac with zero chance. Tires crying out, the yellow car takes the tight corner, completely ignoring the danger. Sparks start flying everywhere as he scrapes the ground trying to regain control. Slamming into the barrier at full speed, the car makes the solid concrete shatter into pieces. From the heavy impact, the windshield completely shatters and the driver desperately covers up. The sports car then catches major air, while the red one just cruises on flawlessly. Scraping its side against the pavement, the yellow car shoots sparks all over the turn, shocking absolutely everyone. The red car crosses the finish line and takes the crown. While the car drives on, the dude takes the chance to throw out a casual invite, but he turns the offer down and insists on bringing Jung Hao along, sparking some curiosity. The guy holds his ground though, rejecting the invite even as the other dude applies pressure. Tired of pushing, the guy finally gives in and accepts the request with a hint of disdain. Now the camera fully shifts to the massive front view of the city hospital. Rushing into the room, the worried mom runs to the kid crying in pain on the bed. The dad then shows up furious, promising to punish the guy for putting hands on his son. Annoyed, the youth interrupts his dad, claiming Jung Hao is the one who caused all of this. Thirsty for payback, the man points his finger and swears to end the kid really soon. Flashing a wicked smile through his bandages, he threatens Sahel with absolute zero mercy. Meanwhile, the crew rolls up to the luxury hotel and gets welcomed right into VIP room 9. As soon as they walk in, the cousin points to the guy standing there and introduces brother Hao. Sporting a fake smile, he shakes the guest's hand with the most plastic energy ever. Soon enough, one of the guys stares at the kid, super surprised by how basic and simple he looks. Checking the kid out, he mocks his luck, sarcastically calling him a reborn phoenix. Trying to force some small talk, the kiss-up insists he toasts with the big shots, but the kid ruins the mood instantly by saying he doesn't drink. Annoyed by the rejection, he aggressively pours a drink into the glass, muttering an insult. The orange liquid just spills over the rim, getting foam all over the entire table. Furious at the disrespect, the guy glares at the kid and warns that refusing a drink is highly offensive. Playing into the tension, he mocks Crow and offers to chug the whole thing instead. A henchman then interrupts the chat, warning that Sahel is crossing lines and this Crow dude is furious. Looking totally defiant, the kid holds his gaze and asks what happens if he actually drinks. Lighting a cigarette with a cold smile, the guy declares he'll take it as a clear sign of respect. Right Esther, he raises his glass and challenges the kid to down 10 shots back to back. Pouring a heavy shot of rum, he stares at the other guy completely unbothered. Never breaking eye contact, the main character tips the glass back, easily intimidating his rival. Holding out the empty bottle with a gaze full of disgust, he just drops a simple, "Your turn." And everyone in the room is just shook, because absolutely nobody expected that flex. Catching the disrespect, the redhead scowls and bluntly asks, "You really trying to step to me?" Determined not to back down, the redhead downs the entire bottle in one go without flinching. Clearly messed up, the redhead waves off any help while struggling to stay on his feet. Outraged, the dude in the beanie points his finger, accusing Sahel of faking his weakness. Consumed by pure rage, the redhead completely loses it and charges in swinging. Smirking, the kid stares down his opponent and fires back. "You brought this on yourself." Letting out a furious scream, he chucks the bottle at Sahel's face with all his might. Moving super fast, he dodges the bottle as it slices the air just inches from his head. Riding that momentum, he snatches the bottleneck mid-air and throws it right back with deadly aim, and no one saw that coming. The impact is flawless, shattering the glass all over the dude's head. The vibe instantly dies as everyone jumps up, totally shocked to see the guy out cold on the floor. Dazed from the hit, he tries to pull himself together and orders his men to step in. Meanwhile, a buddy steps up looking super worried, demanding some urgent backup. Even with all this heavy tension, he insists on eating, ignoring the warnings to get out of there. Suddenly, the door gets kicked open and a crew rushes in calling for Brother Crow. Making sure they're noticed, the goons surround the table and demand people make way.